throughout the event. If you have questions, you can send those to me in the chat, and I will be monitoring the chat, and I will communicate those questions as they come in to Kathy. Another quick thing, if you'll notice in the top right of your Zoom screen, you might want to make sure that you switch to speaker view, so you can, the screen will be highlighted on whoever is speaking. But other than that, I think that's the basic instructions. And so from that point of view, Kathy, I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the Byron Fine College of Business, in addition to what Tina already said, in our department. We're really glad to have you. I want to welcome you home, so to speak, at least virtually. So if you want to just maybe get started by telling us a little bit about yourself and maybe a little bit about Sharecare and what you do there, and we'll just see where the discussion takes us.
Okay, great. And thank you, Heath. Thank you, Tina. It's great to be here, and I do feel like I'm home. My family is all in Western Kentucky, and so this was a treat when I was lucky enough to get asked to participate. And thanks everyone for listening in this morning. I graduated from Murray State in 1980, just yesterday, and I had a degree, as Tina said, in accounting, but took a lot of business classes along the way. That led me to a career in public accounting, which I'll talk about a little bit more, a business school track at Vanderbilt, and then investment banking, venture capital, and for the last 9 years, a role at Sharecare. And just a little bit about Sharecare, and then I'll sort of frame a little more about what I do. Sharecare was founded about 10 years ago by Jeff Arnold, who is a serial entrepreneur. His most notable work was founding WebMD, which of course has grown today to be a gigantic healthcare company. And he founded Sharecare in partnership with Dr. Mehmet Oz. And when the two of them met, Dr. Oz, the first thing he said to Jeff was, if you had to start WebMD all over again, how would you do it? How would it be different? And again, this is still 10 years ago. So a lot of things were just percolating then. And Jeff said, I would make every doctor be their own WebMD. I would give them the tools, the resources, the information to allow them to know that much about their patient. And then for consumers, I would take information that we see today in the exam room and bring it to the living room. That sort of intimate information that, you know, at the time, not that many people knew about their health. So what happened since then is, of course, technology has allowed that to happen, and then some. No one knew that smartphones would be everywhere, but they are. And also people have continued to take more accountability for their own health. You know, I don't go to the doctor today unless I Google what my symptoms are, Google what I might have, Google if I can stay at home and not have to go to the doctor. And I think people are doing that more and more every day. So the timing was great. And you fast forward 10 years and today Sharecare is a leading digital health company that helps people, no matter where they are on their health journey, manage all their health in one place. And what I mean by that is I have medical records at 3 different doctors. I have an x-ray at an imaging center. I have lab results at a lab center. We can consolidate all that information, bring it into one safe, secure Sharecare profile, and help you manage your health more effectively. To have it all in one place, we know, is a plus. And so that's what we do in a number of different ways. We use messaging to measure, to monitor, to motivate behavior change in the hopes that we can provide high quality care, accessible to everyone, and more affordable to everyone. We market our products and services to consumers, to employers and employees, to health plans and health plan members, to government workers, all to optimize their well-being and hopefully make the management of healthcare frictionless. And by that I mean We're not asking our users to log in a lot of information every day. We can read from an Apple Watch, from a Fitbit, from a Garmin, populate that Sharecare profile that I was talking about, and make it really easy for you to understand exactly what your health is doing at any point in time. We're also really good at disease management. For a diabetic, we may help them come up with a good eating plan, a nutrition plan, a fitness plan, offer some recommendations and interventions just to help everyone try to lead their healthiest lives. So today we have about 2,400 employees scattered across the U.S., Brazil, France, and Germany. We've always had a big commitment to technology. We've spent over $500 million on a big comprehensive platform that has all the tools and the products that help us manage all your health in one place. And so we have 300 people today in product and tech. So it's a big commitment and will continue to be a big commitment. Some of our most notable clients include Anthem, a Blues plan, which has a big presence in Kentucky, Walmart, Delta, Samsung, Merck, Eli Lilly, and then about 8,000 hospital systems. So what do I do in this morass of people and technology? As Tina said, I run our corporate development effort. And what that means is when we buy a company to get into a new business line, to get into a new product line, to bulk up the products that we have, my team is in charge of that. We may have sourced the deal. We help structure the terms around how we move forward. And then a big part of it is working with a lot of attorneys and a lot of accountants to get the deal closed. And so we've closed 16 since we started 10 years ago, which is crazy busy. So it's definitely kept me off the streets for sure. We've also raised about $450 million in capital from media, healthcare, technology, and financial investors. And so with the background that I have, I've been involved in that as well. So any of you on the phone who have started an early stage company, you know, on any given day, you wear a different hat. And that's certainly what we've done at Sharecare.
That's absolutely fascinating, Kathy. And it sounds like, given the current environment, Sharecare was uniquely poised to experience some growth. And I know that in our conversations, I think that you all have experienced some growth in these really, really uncertain times. And in management, I can't help myself but be management professor here, but in management, we talk about how important it is to be able to manage and deal with uncertainty, especially in unprecedented times like we're dealing with now. So if you could maybe talk a little bit about some of the things that maybe Sharecare has done to experience growth and find success in these uncertain times.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And I'll save the uncertain times for last because, you know, 2020, especially since March, has given a whole new meaning to uncertainty. But, you know, from the get-go, we have never had a fear of failure. And I've worked with entrepreneurs all my life, and every entrepreneur will tell you failure is not an option. And so I don't know whether it's the fact that our founder was 25 years old when he founded the company right before WebMD, and so was in his late 20s when he was running a $1 billion company. That certainly helps you sort of get over failure. But we've not been afraid of risk. And it's not risk for the sake of risk. We want to make sure we've calculated what the risk is as much as you can, that we have measured risk, but we've not been afraid to take it on and put the processes in place to try to mitigate as much risk as we can. We've always had a pretty bold mission. You know, I've talked about this big comprehensive platform. That was the vision early on. And we had many people, many smart people say to us, why don't you just pick one thing? just pick one or two things on that big platform, do it really well, and you'll be good. And, you know, our founder was just adamant about, you know, if I wanted to go build websites for hospital systems, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. We are building the infrastructure to be and support a really big company. So that's what we've done now. Not all the strategies that we pursued have worked by far. But I think in terms of, Heath, your point about management, we haven't shied away from making a difficult decision to walk away from a mistake. I mean, you know, the earlier that you can see a mistake, do something about it, sort of course correct, the better you'll be, because every company is going to make mistakes, every single one. We still make mistakes today, but it's what you do about it when you realize that you do need to pivot one way or the other that really makes the difference. A few of the things that have been our beliefs from day one that I think has led to this success: uncertain times, certain times. The consumer has always been at the center of everything we do. We're thinking about, how does that consumer want to consume health information? When do they want it? How do they want it? Where do they want it? Can we provide it that way? Again, with the motivation of trying to help people live their healthiest lives. And today we have 20,000 videos, we have 40,000 experts that are writing content on our site, and we have about 65 million members. And that's because we've been steadfast about how do we serve this consumer. And I think the success that we've had with the likes of a Delta or a Walmart has come from the fact that we start with your Delta, your customer, your employee is your customer. How do you provide the tools that they need to be healthy? We've also been really aggressive, as I said, on the acquisition side. 4 years ago, we acquired a company twice our size. And, you know, again, a lot of smart people said, maybe you could have done that 2 or 3 companies, not swallowed a whale. Well, we had the opportunity to buy this company at a great price. And it really gave us a head start into this business that I've been talking about, health and wellness for companies, for health plans, for government. And a 2 to 3 year head start for an early stage company is like 2 to 3 dog years. I mean, it can make all the difference in the world in where you're ultimately positioned in your market. So we did a lot of work, put a lot of processes in place to try to work through that integration as efficiently and effectively as we could. And it was pretty bumpy along the way, particularly the first couple of years. There were some ahas about, oh, there's a rock. We didn't turn that rock over. Let's see what's underneath it. But again, it was sort of a big team effort to make that deal work. And I would be remiss in talking about an acquisition and not talking about the human capital side. So again, management is everything, and management's vision is everything. And so we have to make sure that the management team of the company that we're buying has a shared vision. And that could be a 2-person startup. It could be a 2,000 employee company. But we need to be able to lock arms, grow the business together, hopefully make 1 + 1 = 3 or 4 or 5. And so we have actually walked away from a few situations where great resumes of the management team, but just over the long run, we never really thought that we could gel and build the kind of culture that we want. So, you know, the human side of everything that we do, from our CEO on down, is top of mind all the time.
Thank you for that. And as a strategic management professor, I'm glad we're recording this session, because now I think I may just push play on what you just said in my class, and my semester is done. So you're following all the stuff we're teaching. So that's really reassuring to us to hear. And there's kind of another side to that coin of success and growth in these times. And not every company or industry finds themselves in a position to be able to grow right now. And many companies are finding themselves in a more of a defensive or kind of a retracting type position. But I think a lot of the things that you said from a growth perspective can also be applied for those that find themselves in a more defensive type situation. And if there's anything else you could maybe add to that, maybe some insight, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, like we've said just a minute ago, uncertainty has taken on whole new meaning in the last 6 months. We're in unprecedented times and may continue to be for quite a while, actually. And so, you know, I'm going to harken back to that no fear of failure. We said, we know we've accumulated the assets, the people, the technology, the partnerships, the customer base, the infrastructure that we've worked on for a decade. We know we have the tools and the essentials to get through this, to weather this. And I think when we understood or tried to understand the magnitude of the pandemic, we said, our challenge is not how do we scramble around and get assets that we need to make it through this. It's how do we mobilize what we have to not only survive, but to try to thrive through this. And, you know, I'll say that Sharecare's in a good spot because we're a digital health company, virtual health. A lot of people are giving us that label now. And the growth in digital health has been explosive during the pandemic. So it helps to talk about how we're surviving and thriving when, you know, the industry tailwinds are going your way. But the first thing that we did, which, you know, our founders, our CEO says we went from Blockbuster, which was, you know, the most basic way to rent a movie years and years ago, to Netflix overnight. And so we said, what do our customers want? What do these consumers need from us? And it's content, it's information. So very quickly, we stood up a COVID hub and everybody leaned in. I don't think our CEO slept for 3 days. And we put together what we thought people needed to understand the shift, no doubt the shift in healthcare delivery during the pandemic. We didn't get it perfect. The information that we distributed certainly was, because we have a chief medical officer in New York and a medical advisory board. And so anything that we said about, you know, symptoms, testing, et cetera, had been vetted. But it was critical that we get it up and get it up quickly. And I have to brag and say that we just won gold in the Digital Health Awards for our COVID hub. So again, a little risky to do what we did, but the risk paid off. You know, the second part is we had started the foundation of a telehealth operation. And, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I did a telehealth video consult with my doctor. Didn't want to go to the urgent care, certainly didn't need to go to the ER. And I just didn't really want to sort of enter the healthcare system. And it worked great. You can do that telephonically, but that area of healthcare has exploded, telehealth. So we quickly, you know, helped scale our partner that we had in that, and got ready to talk to a lot of consumers, a lot of users about, you know, do you need to go to the doctor? Can you stay at home? Whatever. And then the third thing was our customer base, this client base, was desperate for information, for tools that they could provide to their health plan members, employees, whatever. And we had just bought earlier in the year a fantastic app called Unwinding Anxiety. And we knew mental health already being a problem was going to be exacerbated during the pandemic. So we offered that free to our major clients for 90 days for their populations. And so we, you know, I mean, like I said, we'd sort of spent a decade preparing for that. And it just, I think, is a testament to our team, and especially our senior leadership, to say, okay, this is our shot. This is what we've been doing for years and years. Let's give it everything we can to make this successful.
Great. Kathy, to kind of follow up on that, we've had a question come in the chat, and I think this is very relevant for the conversation here. So somebody's asked, is in the financial industry, and which is highly regulated as the medical industry would be as well. And so they've asked, how you managed, dealt with compliance and regulation issues as you move forward this growth, and how does that impact, kind of your risk propensity? It sounds like Sharecare is not necessarily risk averse, but there's some, you've mentioned risk a lot of times. So how do regulation and compliance factor into how you manage that risk?
It's a great question, and I appreciate the question because we don't live by risk. And this is my shot. This is my chance to describe how we don't. Early on, we knew that we had to have, I mentioned this safe, secure profile. Our platform had to be fail-safe in terms of, the risk of data breaches. I'm sure we've all signed HIPAA papers when we've gone to the doctor just to say, I know that you're, that I'll be protected by HIPAA. We're HIPAA compliant. We're high-tech compliant. I mean, we have protected health information, and that is precious to us because it's precious to our users. And so we've spent a lot of money over time. We have a lot of outside third-party audits continually to make sure that we're on the cutting edge of what those regulations are and that we're ahead of the curve in terms of what we're doing to protect that information. And so we have taken on no risk when it comes to what we tell our users, and that is you'll have a safe, secure environment. So that's a great question.
Great, thanks. Maybe we kind of shift just a little bit here and focus on, maybe we can get a little bit of insight on your Murray State experience and how your Murray State experience influenced what you do professionally and kind of your life after Murray State. So if you could maybe give us a little bit, kind of describe your experiences here and
Sure.
Help us out.
And for this part of the discussion, I'm going to wear my Murray State scarf, even though it's 95 degrees in Atlanta, Georgia today. But this is what Tina and Brian gave me, and I'm proud to wear it. I love to talk about Murray, so I'm happy to do that. I came to Murray State in 1976-ish as a music major. I was a music education major with a piano specialty, and I wanted to study under Marie Taylor, who is a phenomenal pianist, a phenomenal professor. Just, I mean, she was everything and then some. When I was 6 years old, I started taking piano lessons and was in choir and band and all that and the travel, and I didn't think about doing anything else. I just, was going to be a music major at Murray State. And so that worked out. And as my freshman year evolved, I realized, do I always want to have music in my life and love that? Or do I want to do music for my career? And I grappled with that. And I also had my dad standing right here on my shoulder saying, so what is it you're going to do when you graduate? Are you going to teach piano, or what is it you're going to do? So all that said, I made a very hard decision to switch out of music. Now, the question is, switch into what? I mean, that was what I didn't really know. But I remembered a conversation that I had with my high school guidance counselor, and she said, accountants, everybody needs an accountant. They'll always need accountants. And so I wish there was a fantastic story about how I chose accounting, but that's how I chose accounting. And I hit the jackpot because when I took Accounting 101, Dr. Tim Miller was my professor. And he gave me over 101 and 102 the confidence and the courage to pursue a career that I didn't know anything about when I took that first class. And for you, those of you new to Murray State, if you don't know Dr. Miller, Google him. He's a rock star. He's made such a difference in so many people's lives. And I would just encourage the students, if you haven't already, to find that sort of mentor. And I think, Heath, the great thing about Murray State is that's what you want to do. You want to help students achieve their goals. You want to help students determine their goals. And so I just, I couldn't really say enough about that. In terms of the sort of the impact and influence Murray has, I guess the easiest way to say it is, if I had the choice to make today, I'd make it all again. I'd make the same decision. The Murray State promise of high quality, high impact, best value was not in place when I was there many, many years ago, but I would say that the university delivered on it in every aspect of my career. I mean, the culture at Murray then, and I think now too, just worked for me. Open, genuine, student-centric. I mean, it sort of set me up for success, both personally and professionally. And the bonus was an excellent accounting and business department. I was well ready for the outside world. Didn't exactly nail the CPA exam the first time, but in the second. And it set me up to be in a good spot at business school. I worked for KPMG. I had a lot of offers coming out of college. I worked for KPMG for 3 years and then decided to do the business school option.
That's great. And I think I can speak as an alumnus, and I think for all the other alumni in the event, I think we all share a similar experience and background as you do with Murray State. And as a current faculty member here, I like to think, and I'm confident that we continue to foster that culture that you mentioned. We want people to succeed here, and I think that really does come through. And so I'm glad to hear you say that. So I really do appreciate that. Go ahead and kind of flow through that. Since we do have several students in the meeting here, can you give us a little bit of perspective of what you think our students, or maybe soon to be graduates, can expect when they enter they leave Murray State and enter the world of work?
Well, there's a COVID answer and there's a non-COVID answer, right? I mean, I think if we're still sort of operating in the same environment that we are today, it could be a little rocky, and the start may be slower than what you anticipated when it was, I'm finally out of school. Now it's time to tackle the real world. I was not in a dissimilar situation when I got out of business school. I had worked, when I started my investment banking career, I had worked for about a year when we had the late 80s stock market crash, and it was a crash. I mean, we went from having a full book of business to nothing. So the firm that I was with in Nashville was incredibly supportive and had invested in me and didn't show me the door, which I'm grateful for today. But I basically used that downtime to get as smart as I could about our industry, because, a year in, I was still sort of climbing up the learning curve. I read old transaction files, old presentations. I read industry reports, research reports. I mean, I did everything I could to get smarter about what the career trajectory I ultimately wanted when things turn, and they will turn. Things always turn. It's cyclical, and it may look bleak today, but it will turn. So how can you best prepare yourself for that? And so that's what I was able to do. And, on the other end, you may be hearing this and saying, yeah, right, but you had a job. So how hard could it have been? And I think that's the challenge. It's like, how do you sort of just be diligent about trying to find as many opportunities as you can, because it may just mean looking at a lot more opportunities before you find one that works for you in the sort of environment that we're in. And then, it may be if you've been thinking about business school, it may be a good time to look at that. I mean, there's been a lot written about, you know, it's going to be a competitive admission season, but it's always competitive. And you went to Murray State, so you're going to be ready for business school. So, you know, I wouldn't discourage that either.
So is this the time to mention how great our MBA program is here?
Hey.
Dr. Joy Humphreys will be happy to share any information about the MBA program.
Take 2 minutes and tell everybody, do the elevator pitch. Right.
That's right. Well, thanks for that, Kathy. And so I think you've really provided a really good overview and kind of context about what you do and how that impacts and you can be successful in this sort of environment. And then you've really done a great job of communicating and showing your experience here at Murray State. And so I'm going to try to summarize and wrap up the big takeaways for me. And if you tell me if I'm wrong, if I've missed on any of this, but a couple of things that jumped out to me in your talk about managing in an uncertain environment. One is to stay true to your mission. You mentioned how your founder focused on this is what we do and this is what we're going to continue to do. We just have to figure out how to do it. Also, not to be afraid of risk, but be mindful of it. Do your work, background, figure that out, and you're not always going to be successful with everything you try. So don't be afraid of your failures, but you should try to learn from those failures. And I think that's valuable advice, whether that be operating a business in a corporate type setting or even in a small business. So are those decent takeaways from what you,
yeah.
Did I miss anything there?
No, not at all. You know, and I think, and you said this, Heath, I mean, it's just no for any alums or students that are thinking about maybe now could be a good time to start my own thing. There will be mistakes. You're going to have to evaluate that constantly, but that's part of the growth. That's your growth. That's the development of the company. That's just what you do to get better over time. And we've certainly made our share to get better over time. But, you know, I mean, again, I think it's, you know, we talked about students sort of going out into the world now. I mean, I think if I had to, I didn't heed this advice, but if I had to offer any pearls of wisdom, I would say, you know, just calm down. You don't have to know everything that's going to happen to you over the course of your career. Now, I unfortunately thought that I did need to know that, but I mean, you know, I was worried about my resume. How would something look on my resume? How would that look on my resume? It's just follow your gut. And if it's an opportunity that looks like a great opportunity and feels like a great opportunity, it probably is. I mean, you know, I thought I was going to be a career CPA. My guidance counselor told me I was going to be a career CPA. And, you know, kind of 2 years in, I said, this is not working. This is not what I expected to be or necessarily where I think I want to focus. And I listened to that and went back to business school, which really put me on a trajectory that I could not have done otherwise. And I think the other piece of it is, you know, and it's hard during COVID, but I would just tell everybody, whether they're, you know, looking at starting a company or joining, you know, a 5,000 person company, take the time to build your own network, your personal, professional network. Don't get lazy. It's easy to get lazy. Don't do that. Be disciplined about saying, who are the people that I think can help me further my career, that I can help them further my career, that I trust, you know, with mutual respect. I mean, that is so incredibly important to do, because I still talk to people I did business with 30 years ago. I mean, it just was important to me. And again, I know I've talked about Dr. Miller, but I read something over the weekend where he said, He prides himself in holding true to his belief that in the beginning of success is building positive relationships. And I just could not agree with that more. So we're living in a virtual world. We may live in a virtual world a lot more going forward than we ever thought we would. But take the time to think about, these are the relationships I want to build that's not on Zoom.
So well said. And I think that ties very well into finding that mentor that starts here for our students here on campus, and identifying people on campus that can help and take an interest in success.
Right.
So I think that's so well said. We've had a couple questions come in, one specifically about hiring relative to tech jobs right now in this environment. I guess Sharecare is a tech company as much as it is a medical company. So can you give any insight about that?
Well, I will say for most of the 10 years that we've been in business, we have been looking for technology people. We've been looking for engineers. We've been looking for developers. We've been looking for product experts, product managers. If you're graduating from Murray State with a technology degree, I would say I haven't known it to be cyclical or seasonal. We are always on the lookout. So send me your resume. I'd be glad to share it with our CTO and our chief product officer. But I think that's, everybody, Zoom, think about, we said we went from Blockbuster to Netflix overnight. Think about Zoom. They Zoomed to everybody in the world using it. And the name is ubiquitous now. And so technology is not going to be any less relevant going forward. In fact, it's more relevant. So I would say that's an amazing way to be sort of looking at what the world holds for you now.
Great, thank you. Any last questions? If anybody want to send me anything in the chat, last kind of follow-up questions for Kathy? Now here's where we have the awkward silence, waiting to see if anything comes into the chat. Kathy, I really, this has been great. And the information you've shared, it's been excellent. Like I kept thinking that I might have to prod along but it hasn't happened that way. Like this is exactly what we had hoped for.
I love to talk about Sharecare, so it's an easy topic to get excited about. We're excited about where we are, and sort of a parting comment, I guess, would be, I think hard work is underrated. I mean, many times, and in the past and in the future, I will not be the smartest person in the room, but no one can out-hustle me. I have always worked hard. It means giving up a few weekends. It means working some long hours at night. But, it's just, if you love what you're doing and you want to be the best you can in what you're doing, then hard work will not let you down. So that's my crystal ball.
So one last question. You mentioned several times about the importance of building relationships. Could you expand a little bit on the social side of your MSU experience? I know Tina mentioned that you were in a sorority, maybe other organizations that you were part of, and how those things connected you back to the university.
Sure. Well, I was in a sorority, and I was a little sister to a fraternity, so I did the whole shebang when I was in college and loved it, and still have great friends from those times. The professional side, I moved to Atlanta in 2000 and I didn't really know anyone, so I had to meet people. And the way I met people was I joined a few business organizations. I've joined a couple of female-focused business organizations, and I joined a nonprofit, and that was in 2001. I did that and still have a lot of those friends today. I mean, you know, one thing that I haven't done as well as I wish I had is continue those just purely social connections. And I think you need that to be balanced. It sort of, you know, helps you escape every once in a while from the mundane. And so I've tried to be as connected as I can socially. And then I've really worked hard to, you know, get more involved at Murray State. And Tina and Brian have helped me do that and had great ideas for me along the way. And I'm excited to do more of that going forward. I mean, I think, you know, again, a balanced person is probably a better employee and probably happier. And so I could have done a better job and trying to do a better job now, but I think that needs to be carved out as, you know, in your game plan, in any student's game plan going forward, how do you keep that a priority too?
Great, thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time. I think we've got the provost is here. I see our dean in the College of Business is here. I think I can speak for them and for all of us to say that we're proud of you and we're proud of your success, and we're proud that you're part of us. And so if there's ever anything we can do at the college level, at the university level, please don't hesitate to reach out and come back and see us. We'd love to see you on campus.
I will. I mean, I was planning to be there this fall, and so it's just a rain check.
Right. And until next time, I guess, right?
Murray State folks at Sharecare. So don't be shy about sending your resumes to me.
Well, that's great. So students, you heard that. Like that's a very valuable offer.
Maybe not all of them at once, but no. No, I'm happy, and I'm happy to spend some time on the phone just to talk about, you know, brainstorm ideas about this challenging times that we're in.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad I got to be have a chance to be a part of this. So I think Tina maybe has a few words that she'd like to say as we wrap up here. So I'm going to give it back to you, Tina.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. And thank you, Dr. Kelly. This has been incredible. And thank you all for joining us today. I have two final things for you. Please respond to our post-event survey and help us do this even better as we move forward. I don't know how we can top it. Kathy was amazing. Yeah, especially the scarf thing. And then the other thing is we have many more virtual events planned for this fall. So please visit murraystate.edu/speaker series to check out those opportunities. So thank you all so much. Go Racers. Have a great day.
Go Racers. Thanks, everyone.